Okay. With any luck, this isn't totally horrible. I am fully convinced that I've made my OBS setup entirely too complicated. So this will be something I'll have to iterate on. Okay, so this is new for me. Well, not really. I mean, I streamed a little bit a couple years ago, um, doing like gaming and music stuff, but nothing like this. Nothing like what I have planned for this. But before I get too deep into that, um, I wanted to just say thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. This is a sort of an experiment of mine. I mostly do written form content, and to be honest, that's been kind of lacking over the past few years. Even though I've done a little bit better this year, or I guess the last year, but um, I've found that there's just a gap in my outlets from a technical perspective. So as I mentioned, I've streamed for gaming and music stuff, but I'm a programmer by trade, so I've obviously seen a lot of the content out there from you know some of the programming content out there, which is really good. And I think there's a way for me to use that to my advantage in a couple ways that like blogging or just any written content hasn't really been able to do. For one thing, like I know for a fact that these days um, written content it triggers this like very perfectionist nature in me, and I've really tried to do less of that, but it's an ongoing struggle. So the nice thing about live streaming, at least the thing that I've sort of told myself about it, is that I can treat this as a little less formal. Obviously, I'll do my best to not make it totally awful, but um, I, it's a way for me to I think do more do more content that's meaningful to me in a way that's not that doesn't have the kind of constraints um, of written formats. So yeah, that's why we're here. Let me again, I'm sure I'll get better at this over time, but at the moment I actually have some like notes that I want to go through, just so I because I'm definitely prone to babbling, and so it's actually for your benefit that I go through these. Um, the first thing I want to talk about is like the actual inspiration for like why I wanted to start doing this. So I have as you can see, I have a bookshelf behind me. I've read some of them, and they're mostly technical books. There's a lot of non technical books like further down here, but a lot of these are like programming books or systems books. A lot of like Linux related books over here, networking and things of that nature. And I've read through some of them, and some of them I've used as like a reference, meaning I'll use them like I'll just like go straight to the index and look up the thing I'm trying to look up, and then there's others that I just haven't touched at all. And the problem with that is I have this visual in my head where it's going to be a little bit of a coffee nerd kind of thing, but if you've ever made espresso, you've probably heard of the concept of channeling. So channeling is this idea that when you're making espresso, you have water, obviously high pressure water being pushed through, and what can happen is water will find like the shortest path to the outlet. And so some of the coffee will be underbrewed, or and some will just be effectively like just you know totally saturated. So it creates this weird unevenness in there. And I felt like lately in my career, and maybe it's my stage of life, also my career, where that kind of just happens naturally for skills and knowledge. Maybe I'll do a longer form video on this, just because I think there's some nuance that I want to talk about in this, and now is probably not the right time for that. But the as scope increases, responsibilities increase, and things like that, and time, of course, decreases, the ability to like just naturally stay on top of all of like the fundamental concepts is it just becomes a lot harder. And so what you end up doing is just focusing on what your job requires of you. So that's what's been happening with me. And I've wanted for a long time to find a way to like force myself to stay in the like fundamentals learning, um, routine. And I'm thinking that one of the ways that I can do that is to do what effectively amounts to a technical book club. And the first book, well, I'll get to that. But the idea is that like I want to go through some chunk of some technical book, and this will just be a book that I find useful to me. Of course, obviously, as if this continues, wouldn't be opposed, of course, to hearing requests or recommendations. But I have a litany of ideas behind me that I want to get through. So the idea anyway is to sort of go through a chunk of a technical book once every, like, I don't know, 1 to 2 weeks is the other thing. I don't want this to become unsustainable for me. I have no idea like how much time or at least how much regularity I'll be able to do this in. I'm hoping that it will be there. But for now, I'm just going to commit to like roughly every 1 to 2 weeks, do some chunk of a book. And I'll, do my best to, communicate that in advance. And so if you want to follow along, and I highly recommend you do, that you can do that. But it'll just have to kind of be on an ad hoc basis. I think that's all I wanted to cover on that, the general idea of like what I wanted to talk about for like the technical book club. And again, the kind of the point of this is to sort of like give myself a reason to like just reading through technical books from cover to cover just isn't happening these days like it used to. Like it used to be like I had all this time, and I'm sure this is totally normal, right? Everybody has this point in their life where they're like, where did the time go? That's just natural, of course. But for me, I think this will be a good way to sort of force myself to like go cover to cover. I treat a lot of these books just like as a reference. So if I have an issue at work, for instance, I'll say, I need to get that BPF book out. So I'll go straight to the chapter on whatever it is that I want to look at. And there's utility in that, but I think that doing something a little bit more focused is good. So anyway, without further ado, the first book that I wanted to talk about is, let me switch. Oh, you know what? I went through all this trouble to get all this cool Streamer Deck stuff set up. I don't have the physical one yet. I was going to try it on my phone first. Let's see if this works. Boom. Hey, look at that. Not too shabby. Yeah, I'm probably going to get one of those fancy Stream Decks here in a little bit, but I'm just using it on my phone for now just to prove that I can do this. So the first book that I want to do is Systems Performance by Brendan Gregg. Now, I have this book, so I already have it. But I actually recently got that one. The one that I've had, as I mentioned, I have one that I look at for BPF stuff. And again, it's not all the time. It just kind of depends on when I need it. I do have his existing, his I guess, I would assume that it's newer, but I actually haven't looked at the date. Certainly it's newer than the original version of Systems Performance, but I don't know about the second edition. Anyway, I would love to look at this maybe in a future series as potentially like a sequel. But the task of sort of like getting better at not just like performance engineering, although that's certainly a part of it, but just like the fundamentals of like, I have a service running in production. I want to be able to know at any time anything that's going on with it. I think this is something that if you're touching production in any way, like if you're running even like, SREs obviously need this skill set because they have to sort of treat everything that they look at as a black box. And of course it depends on the company, but a lot of SREs kind of have to be able to understand, everything that's running on a system, or at least be able to understand what it's doing. And even if you're not an SRE, like, if you're a systems engineer like me, working on production systems and having to, sort of debug issues that come out of left field. A lot of the concepts in here are super, super useful. And again, it's like, you could treat this as a reference and sort of go in on a case by case basis, or you could read it cover to cover. And that way, when the sort of unknown problems happen, the unknown unknowns, you'll be well equipped to do that. And so I've been drawn to this book for a while, and I wanted to use it as sort of the first in the series. So the idea is that, roughly, again, every 1 to 2 weeks, I'll go through a chunk of it, and probably we'll do a little bit of live demo, maybe a little bit of just concepts discussion. Not aiming to be like a a regurgitation of the book, of course. If you want to follow along, I highly encourage that you do that, and I highly encourage you get the book. Brendan Gregg is a fantastic engineer. He's known for all kinds of things, so it will only serve you to buy his book. The cadence, like I said, will be about one to two every 1 to 2 weeks. I'll do some chunk. It'll probably be roughly a chapter every. Like when I say chunk, of course, it's just going to depend on like the density of the section. I anticipate the first stream will just be the first chapter. I considered kind of doing a little bit more because like usually the intro chapters are kind of light, but I don't want to do that this time. So even if the first stream's a little shorter than the other ones, that's fine. So the next stream, I'm hoping to do this Monday, but just stay tuned and I'll get to my socials and whatnot so you can get updates. But my hope is that the first stream will just be on chapter 1 and that it will be this Monday. I think another early stream like this one, but we'll have to play around with it a little bit. Again, I'll get to my socials so you can understand sort of like when I plan to like change the schedule or anything like that. But I'll try to keep that, consistent. If I do put a stream out, I'll try to like commit to whatever I do put out. So yeah, systems performance. Highly recommend you get the book. Not a lot of time to next Monday, but again, just the intro chapter. So there's still plenty of time to get it and catch up a little bit. I think the second chapter is where things get a little bit more intense anyway. Now, after that, so I have a bunch of other books. I mean, just to give you a flavor for like what I have in mind after this, because this will take a little bit of time to get through, a couple months ish, if I go at the cadence that I just talked about. I have a number of books that are important to me. A lot of them are going to be Rust focused, just because I have, again, like I've been writing Rust now professionally. I mean, I was playing with it as a hobby before this, but professionally I've been writing it for over 4 years. But again, it's like, you sort of, if you're not focusing just on Rust, it can be easy to find little gaps here and there. And so I find these every once in a while. I have, of course, the Rust programming language book. This is the second edition, if I recall, and it covers Rust 2018. The third edition I have pre-ordered, and I already have the ebook, or at least the preview ebook. And by the way, if I don't know if this is like well known or something like that. I mean, the age of Amazon, it might not be. A lot of publishers, and specifically No Starch Press, I'm really impressed with. And you'll forgive me, I don't know if this is universally true for all of their books, but for No Starch Press, I believe if you buy a physical book from their site, so meaning not Amazon, they will give you an ebook copy for free, and that includes the like pre-orders. So like the third edition of this is not even out yet. Yet I have the ebook in early release. I think that's amazing. I know O'Reilly does something similar with their Safari platform, so it's not necessarily like the downloadable ebook, but I've written an O'Reilly book in the past, and they give we do early access, or we did early access. I don't know if I'm not sure if Everbook does this, but early access on that platform is a thing. And like with No Starch Press, it's sort of like DRM free ebooks. It's just yours. It's fantastic. I've literally bought, I think I bought just a number of No Starch Press books for that reason. Getting into like deep learning, I have Practical Deep Learning, Deep Learning Crash Course, and a few others just from No Starch Press because I knew that I'd get the ebook from them. So a little shameless plug for a publisher that I have no vested interest in, but I like them. So there you go. Let's see. So that's the next book that I think I'll probably want to go through. It kind of just depends on timing. Is when that third edition does come out. I wouldn't mind going again cover to cover. Of course, it's like it's the same thing. It's like the Rust programming language. It's been something I've worked with for a long time. But of course, as I pointed out, it's really easy to have gaps if you don't do some intentional, like foundational work. So that'll be a good one to go through, and it's good timing with the third edition, with the third edition of the book and the 2024 edition of the language coming out. That'll be really good. Other books that I have the ideas for, again, Rust focused at first, but I promise I'll run out of Rust books eventually. Rust Atomics and Locks, really good one. I've heard a lot of good things about. there's some things in here that I definitely am very weak on, and I need to do a lot more intentional work. And then Rust for Rustaceans, I've read a lot more of this one, but again, not cover to cover. Again, I treat all these as like references. This is a book that I've heard only good things about, and everything that I've read in it is fantastic. And of course, John, I don't even want to try to pronounce his last name because I know I'll butcher it. But he's John Woo on YouTube. He streams as well. Fantastic. Crust of Rust videos. I mean, legendary. If you know, you know. So those are some books that I have in mind for potential next steps. Again, not committing to doing them necessarily, because of course, if somebody has a better idea for something else, especially these are all really Rust focused, and I'm inclined to prioritize variety if that's important. So not opposed to doing something else, but those are some of the things that are top of my mind outside of the book club idea, because that obviously is going to take a while to get through. I will almost certainly pepper in other sort of, we'll just call ad hoc streams in between whatever these book club things are doing. And I probably won't like schedule them. It'll probably be just sort of like literally if I feel like it. So again, the best thing to do is just stay tuned to my channels, and I'll give you the links here in a little bit. But the kind of ad hoc streams that I imagine that I'll want to do are like just building stuff. I have a bunch of side projects that I wouldn't mind reviving. Again, it's like if you're not doing, if you're just working on the stuff for your day job, like it just kind of like it can create blind spots, and I want to get back to just like tinkering with random things again. It's something that I haven't prioritized, and it's it's my responsibility to do that. Time management is tricky that way. So I don't know. It back in 2020, I was tinkering around with a friend of mine with a game engine. I don't know if I want to get back to that. It certainly would not be for a to try to build like a real game engine. It would just be sort of like a toy project, as it was then. But I had a lot of fun. And to be honest, I have pages of notes from that time frame. This is sort of like my lockdown project. Pages of notes. Where we were building like a renderer with like literally, well, it was in Rust and directly with the directly against the Vulkan API, which is a graphics API. And I mean, I'd have to look at my notes. I'm sure I've forgotten almost everything about that. But one of the things that I specialized in that project was animation. So I got into animating some of the models that we pulled in addition to working on like the rendering pipeline. And I went through like this huge Vulkan tutorial in Rust. So, like I said, I'm sure I've forgotten most of that, but it wouldn't be a horrible idea to revive that, because, there's just things that you have to get really good at if you're trying to build anything to do with graphics, and I don't just mean graphics related things. I mean like just literally the performance of your code has to be pretty good. I just remember. It was sort of the first time I was really, truly amazed. I mean, I've been amazed by computers before, but man, that project it really pulled it opened my eyes to like what computers really can do when you allow them to be excellent. So I don't know, something like that might be cool to play around with from stream to stream. There's other simpler things that I have in mind. Like I have this idea for just like a really simple tool for doing sort of like offline analysis of Jaeger traces, but in bulk. Little things like that. I don't know. It just depends on what I want to work on. But and then of course maybe I'll just do a stream where I'm looking at like an article or a video or something like that, and want to give my thoughts. Not intentionally trying to do like a Primeagen ripoff, but that kind of thing. Where it'd be nice to sort of get thoughts from other people on a particular topic. But yeah, things like that. I mean, like I said, it's just ad hoc streams will be peppered in just because I don't want to just limit myself to necessarily going through a book. And I've learned a lot through other activities that variety is one of the ways that I can sustain myself through some of these things. Like as an example, I've done like road cycling for a number of years, and last 2 years I've done a lot more mountain biking. There's a mountain biking trail, or several close to my house, and I sort of just only did that, and I actually kind of burnt out of both because I did too much mountain biking, and then I was burned out of the whole thing, and so I ended up not doing much of either towards the end of the season, which was of course only to my detriment. I wasted about half a summer. So doing a little bit more variety, I think, is important, and this is one of those cases where if I just do the book club thing, I'll feel like I have to spend time preparing it, and I'll not want to continue. So I'll pepper those in every once in a while. Join if you'd like. If not, totally get it. I'm still new to this. I still have like, I wouldn't call it anxiety, but just sort of like um there I don't know. I don't know why anybody would want to watch me do that, but I know that other people have found success in doing that. And success for me isn't even like views, right? It's like it's just getting in touch with people again. That's another thing that's sort of like gone down at this stage in my again life and career is just the time for staying involved with some of the communities I used to be a part of. I just don't have it anymore. Or at least I haven't. I should say, I should be clear. I haven't made that time. So again, that's kind of the point for me. It's not about views. It's just about making myself less of a virtual hermit. So anyway, I've been babbling long enough. If you're still here, thank you. I am going to end with just if you want to sort of stay up to date with what's going on, the YouTube channel and Twitch channels are the best way to do that. I think they'll send notifications when I schedule a stream, and of course when I do go live, they'll notify you. So definitely subscribe there. I'll put everything in the description. If you're watching the YouTube video, I'll put everything in the description. If otherwise, the links over here to the right. Losewalt.dev is my blog, and there's like links up top. What I really should do is create like a socials page, and I might do that for the next stream. But in any case, if you go there and go to the top, there's links to like all my socials. I've highlighted two of them, Mirrodin on formerly Twitter, but x.com, and then LinkedIn. I'll be posting updates, things like the stream has moved, or I've scheduled a new stream, or hey, for this new for like I'll mention like hey, this week we'll be covering chapters. Or half of chapter 2 or whatever it is. So that way you can have a little bit of time to prepare for what we're doing. But yeah, okay. I think that does it. Thanks for watching. I'm hoping that I'll get better at this over time, maybe a little more succinct and whatnot. But yeah, until then, thanks for tuning in, and hope to see you Monday. It should be a good inaugural stream for Systems Performance. Again, I'm really excited about this book. So if you haven't gotten it, please do get it. I think it'll be a really fun journey. All right. Thank you.